Hi there.
Welcome back. Episode 3, right? 3.
I hope we get to a place where we lose count, and then we're like, where are we? What day is it?
What if we just pretend and we say, welcome back to episode 742 of the Giant Rick, and we just list them like that. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, right?
Season 47 of it's like Survivor. You know how there's like 9,000 seasons of
Yeah,
Survivor?
that's going to be us. Or
Oh,
the third one.
true.
Listen, we've talked so much about this stuff that in our brains, this is season 47, right?
Yeah. And you're along with us for the ride. So
Yeah.
thank you for joining another episode of the Diet Recovery Club podcast. Yay.
Enter a clap sound that I don't know how to do. We don't know how to do that yet.
I would say we should totally be like the cheesy. That was
We're
Allison
gonna,
clapping,
we're
not
gonna
actually.
record our own claps though today. So that
Yes.
is legitimate clapping, not
Authentic.
fake.
Oh, well, we hope if you haven't already, go give our other two episodes a listen, get a little sneak peek on kind of what we're all about and why we created the Diet Recovery Club. I feel like we always mention this at the end, so I want to start with it real quick. You can find us on Instagram at Diet Recovery Club. You can shoot us an email if you got questions, comments, concerns, I guess. We would like to hear your concerns. At dietrecoveryclub@gmail.com. And within on our Facebook as well. Okay. So, without further ado, Keri, what the heck are we talking about today?
Well, we obviously have so many topics that we want to talk about, and we had someone on the last live that we did gave us some good topics to talk about, and we are waiting for your emails about what topics you're interested in hearing about. But actually, the thing that we want to talk about, which we're going to title something, what the heck do I eat? I'm in a food rut, etc., something along those lines, is something that, people talk to us about all the time. This is like an actual like issue, concern, problem, whatever you want to call it, that we've experienced ourselves and continue to experience sometimes, because
Yeah.
really this is a really pretty broad topic. But I guess we were thinking about, what are some of the beginning bits of info that would be helpful for when you do actually quit dieting, right? Like, we know for some of you, you're listening to this podcast because you're thinking about it, or you're pondering it, or you're like, what the heck, is that even an option? And that's totally fine. You might not be here yet with what we're about to talk about, but that's okay, because this can like prepare you for what you might run into when you actually kind of take the leap. And for so many of us, right? I know Alice and I have talked about our own stories. For me, it was like 20 something years of pretty much nonstop dieting, like plan to plan to plan. I put plan in, for some things they weren't even a plan. It was like thoughts of a plan, whatever it is, right? Um, have been told for so long with dieting plans, like, here's what you eat. You eat this much amount of food. You eat these types of food. Here's what's bad. It is very, very black and white for many of them. And then we decide that we want to do something different and not diet. And we're stuck with, well, how the heck do I eat? What do I feed myself when it's been so many years of being told exactly what to do? So we kind of wanted to poke around and see what
Yeah.
we have to say about all that.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, every single diet, and I'm talking about, like, seriously, think of all of them. Think of all of the ones that you've been on. Again, I think one of these days we'll do an episode on both of our individual stories and kind of what our personal experiences are with dieting, or were with dieting. Goodness, I guess are, because we're still living in the insanity that is diet culture things. But every single diet that you can think of does have a prescribed way of eating. And whether that's telling you content, like what should go on your plate, whether that's telling you quantity, like how much you can have, whether that's just telling you like what things are off limits or what things are good. And I'm using air quotes because we'll talk about moralizing food and labeling it as good or bad at some point. But every single one does this. And when you quit dieting, it leaves you feeling like, okay, what are the rules, right? What's the game plan here? Where's the structure?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I think, feel like they need guidelines, right? They've thrived on having a structure of eating for so long, and what do we do? So this is where I feel like our unique roles as therapy dietitian, right? Like we can see both sides of it, and kind of dive into why that feels so scary, but also what do we do about it and how do we navigate eating? So the place my brain goes first is like, and I guess what I always talk to my clients about is, can we start with naming what you do like to eat? What foods like do you like the taste of, first and foremost? What foods do you have access to? And that might be the only two starting places we explore at first. Because
I think for some people that is going to sound like crazy talk, right? Not to use like a stigmatizing word, right? But like just totally out there. Even the idea of like, wait, that's the first, like, what do I like to eat? Because honestly, if you're listening to this today and you really are either still dieting or like have like recently stopped, is that something that you've thought about? Because I know I went for many years never asking myself that question. And that doesn't mean that I didn't eat foods that I liked. I just never would sit and say, like, when I'm going to make dinner or a snack, for the first thought to be, what sounds good to me right now? Like, what food would actually taste good? It was always, what am I supposed to eat? What should I be eating? What shouldn't I be eating? That was probably the
Yeah.
bigger thought, right? And
Yeah.
I think going into this, knowing that this is normal, like that's where my therapist brain goes, right? Like the thing that would have been so helpful for me, more than even like a list of like, here are things to think about, of like different ways to take this information into your brain, would have been to say that it is so going to like, it is so normal to go into this and have a really hard time figuring out what to do, or to even sit and grapple with what foods do I like that might take a little bit of time or a lot of time to
Yeah.
really sit and figure out.
Yeah. I mean, I spend whole sessions with clients like talking through, and like a lot of times I'll use like various lists that I have of just to like provide ideas, right? Of, okay, hey, if it helps for as far as like structure goes, let's break down like food groups, right? Like what foods fit into these different categories that again exist, whether it be fruits, veggies, starches, carbohydrates, right? Protein foods. And sometimes breaking it down in that way allows the person a little bit more access to, okay, what do I like? And actually, this is something that I think can be helpful in a lot of different settings. Something I'll do too with peeps that have quit dieting and are trying to get curious about what foods do I like. We'll make like a red, yellow, green type of list. Green foods are food, like a stoplight, LOL. Green foods are foods we feel safe with, we feel comfortable eating, we like the taste of. And that's the thing I want, again, listeners to be like, okay, what helps me determine whether or not I like a food? Is it the taste? Is it the texture? Is it the memory that goes with it? There can be a lot of reasons why we like or don't like a food. But as much as we can, leave that door open and like try to approach it with curiosity. Because again, that's something we haven't done in a long time. So like flexing that muscle might feel scary and not fun. So green foods I feel safe with, foods I like the taste of. Yellow foods, like, okay, I might interact with this food every once in a while, but like, is it my favorite? I don't really know. Have I not had it in a really long time, but I used to enjoy it? And then red foods are things that might feel super unsafe. You might like those foods, but they might feel super unsafe. And so, again, this kind of list helps us break down how your brain has divided foods into these different little subset categories. And then what do we want to do about them? Because I love to challenge those red foods that, again, feel safe to eat as far as you're not allergic to it. It doesn't like make you physically ill, right? You have access to it, and it's like, again, something you can get on a semi-regular basis, but you're scared of eating it for the calorie content or
like why are you scared of eating it?
Yeah.
Like what's the
What's the fear?
Yeah. I also love, and I know you talk to clients about this too, like, and I think this is like mind blowing for some people, right? Like you're standing in front of the fridge or the pantry and you're literally so frozen and stuck. And maybe it's, like you said, for some people thinking about like food groups is super helpful. For others that you might sit there and be like, this doesn't even like register in my brain right now. To even start with like super basic stuff, like, do I want something that's hot or cold? right? Like what sounds
Ah,
good right now? Do I want something that's sweet or salty? Do I want something that's crunchy? Like you were saying, like we're saying
yeah.
the same thing, just with like in different ways. Do I want something that's like wet or dry, right? Like it sounds like almost like it's just so different than the way that we typically think about food. I doubt that there's been anyone in your life who has ever said this to you if you've never talked to like a professional that does
Yeah.
it, right? Like it's just not the way we talk about
Yeah.
food, right? And there's so many different nuances to this, but sometimes just starting with like the super basics,
Yeah.
like hot or cold and sweet or salty are like it's a great place to
Right. To
start.
start. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I often label this with clients as like food paralysis, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, what do I have? I have choices and I have things I think I like, but what do I do and where do I even begin?
Yeah.
And those questions are so, fairly simple, right? We can usually access and describe a food. It's one of the main things, we at least do in nutrition counseling is start to get curious about like how are we describing food? How are we talking about food? And getting in touch with your senses. Yeah, like using those parts to help you figure out what next.
Yeah.
Um, so
And this
then,
can be a great, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go because I was gonna switch.
Yeah, well, this could be, and I think this can be a great place to start. And like, just to be clear that we are only offering this up as options. Like, I'm sure there are people who never do this and can find other ways to really connect with like what sounds good to them. I think one of the like misperceptions is it misperception or misconception? Does this ever confuse you? Do you ever hear yourself talking and you're like, girl, what are you saying? This is
Girl,
not
bye.
you know what I'm saying? One of the things that I feel like is something that like an assumption that's made about like
Yeah.
intuitive eating or like we like to call it like more attuned eating is that you are always going to have to find like that this is now what you do, you only eat things that you like and it's not paying attention to anything else. Like no, this can be a great place to start, especially if you've never asked yourself that question. But there are plenty of times that we eat foods that either we don't love because we're hungry and we're out somewhere and like we don't have access to something that we really like that's
Yeah.
okay. But I feel like in the beginning, it's really nice to set the tone of acceptance around I have permission to eat the things that actually taste good. Because like Allison was saying, to be able to ask yourself the question or make a list of like what foods you actually like, this can be a great place. Like a start, a jumping off point. But you're not gonna it's not like every time I don't stop every time I eat and have this internal conversation of like what sounds good right now. Sometimes I do. And sometimes things all sound gross, right? Even now, like even for us who we consider ourselves very attuned eaters most of the time,
Yeah.
sometimes everything sounds terrible. Like
Yep.
sometimes we're in a food rut, right? That just doesn't feel good. And then sometimes this is helpful to pull back out again. Like, okay, if I'm really not in the mood for anything and I know I need to feed myself, like what does sound good? So I think it's helpful for like people at any stage of this.
Yeah. Well, because I think initially too, at least the way I know I felt and the way that clients have described it to me is like in the first few months of, oh, that feels like a long time, right? In the first few months of like engaging with, what do I like? And again, more of an intuitive or gentle approach to food, it does feel like you're having a conversation with yourself at every single time you sit down to eat a snack or a meal. It feels like a whole battle in your brain of, oh my God, is this the right choice? Do I have what I'm supposed to have? Like you're doubting and you're second guessing and you're kind of like gaslighting yourself into, oh my
It's
God.
work, right? Like this is work, right? We
Yeah,
know
it's
that in
fun.
the end this is going to make your life easier. We can like for most people that is what happens. Um and it's work, right? But it's like anything, right? Like you come to see a dietitian or a therapist or whatever, like you want to do something to kind of be more in line with the person you want to be. Like a lot of times it takes work and that doesn't mean that just because it's hard that it's the wrong
Yeah.
to do.
Well, and I think it's hard and also gentlest reminder that like you have permission to keep doing the thing even though it's hard. You have engaged in dieting, which is also hard. Um, they're different types of hard. They're different versions of a hard, and it's okay. I think again people often describe feeling, and I know I felt this way about intuitive eating in general. It was like I'm doing it wrong because I'm not finding things that I like to eat all of the time, and I'm not like I was a college student. Like, I did not have the funds, nor the time, nor the energy to always create something that I liked, or go find the thing that I had like a taste for or a craving for. So I think the key thing here is like, we need you to be consistently feeding yourself, and the approach of, again, being really, really gentle on yourself. What sounds good right now? Using any of the things that Keri mentioned a minute ago of, taste, texture, temperature, to help guide you. But be gentle on yourself, damn it. Like, be nice to yourself about this, because it is a big transition. I'm curious how you approach, whether it was like where we want to do maybe past Keri, when you first started gentle eating. How did you approach a food rut then versus how do you approach it now?
Back like at the beginning of
Yeah.
like kind of
Yeah.
moving away from dieting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hard, right? Sometimes to think back and it's like, what did that feel like at that time?
Yeah.
I think that, the thing that comes to mind for me, like even just around how to pick food and like how I figured things out post dieting, is that I think for a good chunk of time it felt like maybe I wasn't choosing to like be an intuitive eater or be an intuitive eater, but I was choosing to not be a dieter, and that meant doing the exact opposite of what I was doing, which meant at the beginning it felt like, well, I'm just letting myself go, etc., whatever that meant back then, right? And just eating whatever I wanted, which honestly I think looked a little bit like probably like binging behavior, which, if we're being honest, I probably had binge eating disorder at one point and just never got diagnosed, right? Like in between dieting when I went through the like binge, you know, restrict kind of cycle, because it was pretty intense for me. So I think that definitely happened for a while. So I really was like, I guess the answer is that it was a really serious focus on, I'm only eating what sounds good to me right now. Like I have restricted myself for so long around this that it felt like a relief and like I can bring all these foods back in my house. So I don't, it was like not a
Yeah.
structured, like, again, not that it has to be structured, but it was probably like the opposite of that. And there was lots of discomfort in that for me. And I think
Mm.
what happened eventually was I was able to start paying attention and like really bringing in both what sounds good to me and what feels really good and how does this impact like the rest of my day. And I think a lot of that happened really naturally for me. I don't know the answer why. I wish that I knew why for me it just happened without like a
Yeah.
lot of external assistance. And right,
Stuff.
like I read
Yeah.
the book, like I read the intuitive eating book, but I maybe I did the workbook at one point, but it wasn't like a serious effort of like, this is what I'm doing now. It was just, I can't diet anymore. I feel like if I don't do something else, that like I cannot continue living, honestly. And that's
Yeah.
something that had to happen. And it just had to kind of be a swing to the other side. And I got really lucky, I think, that it
Yeah.
kind of worked itself out. I think now so I guess I don't think there really was a food rut for a while, because it was a hard lean into what sounds really good to me, like in this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's like the way everyone should do it, or like I
It's
think
a
for some,
it's a
yeah,
possibility that happens, right?
yeah,
Like that
right,
rebellion of like, I'm not doing that,
yeah,
and I
hmm,
can't go back to that, so I'm gonna do
yeah,
this.
right. I think now, I think I'm lucky, right? Allison talked about a little bit about like, said the word accessibility, and like I was thinking when you were talking about paying attention to like what's actually available to us, like it's also okay to have a couple of like, here are the three things in my pantry because that's all I have or that's all I can afford or whatever it is, and saying what feels like the best option right now. Like that's also okay. It doesn't mean that that would be the thing that you would pick. Like listen, I love like filet mignon hibachi, but I can't do that. Like I can't buy that all the time, right? Like I would love to eat that. Although I'd probably get sick of that too if I had it all the time. But right, like it's just not accessible. And I know that's like a privileged thing to say that I even can do that like sometimes. But I think now when I'm in a food rut, I'm really able. It's almost like switching to a different part of me, a different place in my brain that is the like, you just need to eat something and I'm just going to eat, and maybe that means eating something really bland, Maybe that means if I'm feeling like it's a food rut because of some kind of flavor, like no flavor sounds good, then maybe there's no flavor involved. And maybe if I'm in a food rut and I can't figure out what I want to have, it just means getting something in like really quickly that I do not have to linger on. So I'm like drinking a smoothie or
Yeah.
like, just, or having something that is just going to be like not a sit down
Quick and
45
dirty.
minute meal. Yeah, like just what can I get down my throat at this exact
Yeah.
moment in time to make it
Yeah.
feel
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And it sounds very similar to how I personally handle it, right? I think it has changed for, at least for me, so much now, also having a fed brain, a fed body, and I think also with my profession, like I mentioned privilege. I know I am very privileged to again have the education I do have and know what I know about eating disorders and food and how we make decisions about food. Previously, like when I first quit dieting, and it's so funny because even looking back on it, it didn't ever feel like an active choice, right? Like it didn't feel like okay, one day I wake up and I'm just going to do this thing. It just, like you said, it kind of over time, it was like, I don't like the way this feels. I don't like continuing to obsess about this thing. And slowly making these incremental changes towards more balance, I guess. For me, though, food ruts back in the day, I used to, I mean, I still to this day do this, but like I used to use, whether it was like a grocery app, like looking on Walmart or wherever, whichever grocery store I had access to, and or going into the store, and I would purposefully not go in with a list, and I would wander. And I that doesn't mean I picked up anything or put anything in my cart, but I would just look at things. I would just look at food options and take my time and go up and down each aisle, even the aisles I would usually skip within the realm of dieting, right? Like, hello, shopping the perimeter. That message was definitely hammered in my brain. I would go up and down each aisle. And like, oh, sometimes I would pick things up because I like genuinely needed food. And other times I wouldn't. But if nothing else, it just, I think, broadened my, what I remembered were options. Something too that I used to love to do, and that, again, I don't know, this might have come from like intuitive eating workbook things as well, but because I don't remember having this distinct conversation with anybody, but like remembering what foods I liked as a kiddo, and potentially like were not bought in my household, and not, even as like a restrictive thing, but just like weren't part of our standard groceries that my mom would buy. So like things like Gushers.
Oh yeah.
Girl, like,
Talk about texture. That's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, have you seen, side note, do you, this is mostly on TikTok, which I know the app might go away, which is wonderful for my brain and also terrible. Have you seen these like wax candy things? Has this come across your social media?
No.
There's this place called Oodles. If you ever listen to this, I am dying to try this. And they look like yeah, they look like adult Gushers. They're kind of like, remember those little bottle caps that were
Yeah.
like wax, but they're like a handmade thing, and inside is some kind of like fruit jam. So you bite it, and it looks to me, it makes me think about Gushers all the time.
Yeah.
I'd
I
do
love
anything to try one of those candies. Just FYI.
I mean, I love a gummy candy. I love a gummy snack. Like that stuff wasn't bought, so like
Yeah.
purposefully, when I would see those things, it'd be like, like I would get excited, and right, like that was a sign to me of, ooh, okay, that's something I can include. I often found too that like snacks are the things I get in ruts in or over. So that, like, trying to think of what did I like as a kiddo, or like as a teen, that maybe I didn't have regular access to, or I did but I haven't had in forever. So that helped a lot then. Now I think like almost exactly like what you said. I am of the headspace that, okay, I've got a fed brain and a fed body, and sometimes food is, I mean, we eat for a whole bunch of reasons, right? But like sometimes food is just functional, and it is just something we have to do a little bit mechanically. So I, like you, keep very specific things in my pantry or my fridge or freezer that have great consistency, right? Like are the same exact, every interaction that I have with them is exactly the same. Things like a frozen chicken nugget,
Yep.
and again, a specific brand, a specific shape, and that might feel a little funny or a little rigid, but like to me it's super predictable, and I know that I'm gonna like it. Even if it's not something I want right now, I know I like the taste of it. So that's one thing. I will always keep like a frozen pizza. I will always keep certain like soups, PB&J, right? Like things that are the same no matter what.
Yeah.
That has been really helpful in food ruts, because like you, it's like, okay, I know I have to eat. This can just be functional right now. This can just be like, let's get the job done. And all of those things as well that I just named, that I again specifically keep in my kitchen, are things that don't require a ton of effort to cook. Because I think sometimes that's also the battle, is like we go from feeling like we have to maybe prepare and slice and dice every single thing that we're eating, to now this like newfound flexibility of using things that are further along in the cooking process, right? Like they're maybe pre-sliced or pre-cooked and we just have to heat them up. And so that transition I think helps too, right? Like using things that are further along to make it easier on yourself. And what I always call it with clients is like shorten the distance from fork to mouth,
Yeah.
right? If the distance is like an arm's length away, you have all these barriers. But if we can shorten the distance and use things that are quicker and easier to get in your body, let's do it.
But that brings up such a good point around like maybe the first thing to do if you're feeling like you're in a food rut is to just take, even if it's a couple of seconds, right? I know for some people who really haven't taken the time to try to gain more like insight over feelings, or they're like find that they're very avoidant of the ways like of getting in touch with like what's going on for them internally, this can be a big ask, and I understand that. But if it feels accessible to stop and say, what is feeling hard right now? Like, what is the barrier? Is it that nothing really sounds good? Is it that I'm really tired after like this long day of work or whatever else, or like the world, burning down around us? Like whatever it is, like what is the issue, right? Like what's feeling really hard? Because that might also be able to guide you is into, like Allison just said, is it that I don't want to have to cook a meal and I need to really stock up on like ready-made things for this coming week, let's say, when I go to the store? Is it that I don't have enough variety in my house of things that I like? Is it that I really haven't been paying attention to what I like and I've been buying what I think I should be buying, right? And that also, which I love to say, I don't know why I love this so much, I love to talk about how diet culture cannot claim foods, right? Like if you really, I always use a rice cake. I don't know why. If you really like a rice cake, I have friends who say they really like rice cakes. I try to believe them. I'm not. I don't know. I'm still undetermined if it's true or not. But if you really like a rice cake, man, eat the frickin' rice cake. Like that is, diet culture cannot claim that food. If you love a bagged salad, like buy the frickin' like we're not saying that like
That's all
whatever
you
you
should eat.
right. Right. But if you like those foods, if you really like a diet soda over the regular, like if you're again, it has to be like what is the intent behind it? Like I love Diet Coke. It is just
Yes.
what I prefer, like the taste of. I
Yeah.
do not like regular Coke.
Yeah.
Sorry, Coke, but I
Never.
love a Diet Coke, right? Right, but it's not a problem that it says diet. And I feel like I like will be drinking it in my office. And I'll say to clients, especially if they're coming in for like food stuff, like just FYI, I'm drinking this because I like it. Don't think that like I'm drinking this because it has
Yeah.
the word diet in front of it.
But isn't it interesting that we feel like we have to add that
Yeah.
precursor? Because I know I do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love we live and die by our Diet Coke, but I love a certain type of ginger ale that literally has like this giant label on it that says zero sugar.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I like, it feels less, like it burns less than the other ginger ale. I don't know. Again, it's such a
Yeah.
weird, like, I can't pinpoint what it is, but the food preferences that you have, you're right, diet culture can't co-opt those and steal
Yeah.
those. Gosh, that's a great episode as well of all the things of how to navigate, again, preferences versus diet culture and which is really making the decision for you.
Yeah,
Um,
and you might not be sure, and that's okay, right? And maybe it's just a little bit of permission to do what we love to tell you to do, which is like to just get curious about it, right? Like, and you might not know the answer, especially right now at the beginning. It might be unclear, and that's okay. But just having the thought in your mind of like, when it feels ready to me, I'm going to actually like
yeah.
pay attention and grapple with the like, why am I eating this thing?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of why we're doing and everything and anything that has to do with this podcast. It's like we want you to know your reason why, because we think that makes it. We know that makes it easier, it helps you continue to live through your values. We know that it helps you like maintain this change in a safe and productive way, right? Like it's knowing why you're doing something.
Yeah.
Uh, it just gives you greater meaning behind it because there is a reason.
Yeah. And know that like the challenges that are going to come up, like it just, it's so normal. I think that we both, you know, follow, again, like very well-intentioned people on social media or other clinicians or, you know, people that are talking about this stuff. And what we don't hear a lot of talk about is what, like, yes, it's hard in the beginning and everybody talks about that, but like we're talking about us many, many years into this. Again, not that it is like this daily struggle, but there are still things that come up that are really hard. Like for me, my appetite has changed in the past couple weeks. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
been less hungry, and it's so
Same.
funny because in the past that would have been like, oh, this is so great, right? Like dieting me is like wonderful. It
Yeah.
attuned intuitive me is like, what the heck is going on? And I feel really uncomfortable when like I get home and I don't want to eat dinner, and like I'll eat dinner eventually, but I'm like, why am I not hungry?
Yeah.
I think we get really hypersensitive, like at some point to when things change for us in terms of our hunger. Like, and it's great, it's wonderful to pay attention to, but it's hard. Like, even I'm kind of having trouble figuring out what it is that is going on.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, sometimes talking this stuff out loud, like if you have a safe place, if not, write us an email and we'll be your safe
Yeah.
place. But like talking this out and kind of just getting it out of your own head, because I do think sometimes we, again, whether we gaslight ourselves or we overthink, like I hate the word overthink because that feels unfair. Whether we feel like we're thinking about it a lot and it's taking up a lot of brain space, like talk it out loud, give yourself get it out into the universe, and share it. Because again, like Keri said, this is all normal stuff, and it's relevant. It's impacting things. So
And you think about how many years you've dieted for, right? Which we're assuming, if most of you are around our age, right? Like, I,
yeah,
we did it for it was like the majority of our life, right? Like, it's
yeah,
going to take time, even for us, right? Many years out, it's still going to take more time, and then our bodies change, right? Something
mm-hmm.
happens, we get older, we have a baby, we, you know, do all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like that happened to me, right? I had kids and things changed. Like I aged another 10 years and things changed, right? Like there's,
change jobs,
right.
change schools. Yeah,
That is
yeah,
the only thing that we know for sure is going to happen is that things will change for you, right? That
yes,
is like the one certain thing
yeah.
that we can say about what, like, around something that's going to happen with your body and with food, right? And then it's normal that new things are going to pop up. The important thing and the whole point of all of this is that to learn how to trust yourself, right? That like when there's a change or something different, right? For me, it's like this weird appetite change. I can be like, oh, interesting, and I can trust myself that I can handle it, right? That it's not gonna send me down some deep dark path or back into behaviors I don't want to do, or right? Or if we hear things that feel activating for us, right? I'm sure we'll do an episode at some point about talking about like all the GLP-1 drugs. We've had lots of conversations about this and how like it is super activating for me
Yeah.
to hear people talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean just because I'm activated by it doesn't mean I'm going to change what I'm doing, but I can trust myself that like I have the mental like ability to really sit and think these things through and make decisions for myself.
Yeah. To be curious about why it's activating you,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
where does this come from?
Yep.
But you make sense, people out there.
So much sense. Tell us about your food ruts. I would love to hear. I'm sure we both love to hear other people like things that you've either done or things that are tripping you up. Like
Yeah. What's been hard?
this is real stuff. And I'm sure I could almost guarantee that whatever you're gonna tell us, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Right? Like it's
Oh
we
yeah.
all have different experiences, but so much of them are so similar, and maybe we just don't remember that it happened for us, which
Yeah.
is hard to
Which is
remember.
possible.
Hmm.
But they, yeah, again, it's we want to know. We want to help be a safe place.
Yeah,
So as always, let us know. Send us a message. Send us an email. Um, we would also love to hear if you have any episode ideas, any things that you want to hear more about. Again, we got a list going, and we will keep chipping away. But we're so grateful you joined us for this little 35-minute blurb.
yeah.
And
Thanks for hanging out.
yeah, thanks for being here. All right,
We'll see you
peace
soon.
out.
Okay, bye.
Bye.